In April 2023, Stanley Black Decker recalled 2.2 million sledgehammers. Why were the heads of brand new tools flying off the handles and striking workers in the face? And why does the company that owns DeWALT, Stanley, and Craftsman have more striking tool failures on the public record than any tool maker in the country? We are going to expose the manufacturing collapse hiding inside the American hardware aisle and show you the only 5 hammer brands left that still drop forge their own heads from American steel. If you have walked into a hardware store recently, you might believe you are looking at a competitive marketplace with dozens of heritage brands. You see names like Stanley, Craftsman, DeWALT, Plumb, True Temper, Husky, and Cobalt, and you assume these are different companies competing to build a better tool for your job site. That is an illusion. The reality is that 2 corporate giants and a handful of private equity firms now control most of the brand names you recognize, and almost none of those brand names actually forge a hammerhead in the United States anymore. When you buy a Craftsman or a Stanley framing hammer today, you are not buying from a New Britain, Connecticut blacksmith. You are buying a head that was most likely hammered out in a factory in China or Taiwan, shipped across the Pacific in a container, and then assembled with a fiberglass handle inside a warehouse in Texas or Mexico. The 2.2 million unit recall happened because the heads were detaching from the handles, 192 times on the public record, with 2 confirmed face and head injuries. The collapse started in the boardroom, not on the factory floor. The American hammer was once the gold standard of the trades. Plumb in Philadelphia, Kelly in Charleston, West Virginia, Madol in Central New York, Stanley in Connecticut. These were not marketing brands. These were forge towns, workers who had spent decades learning the temper of the steel, the angle of the eye, and the sweet spot of the face. A hammer made in 1965 was expected to outlive the carpenter who bought it. The fall began with consolidation. In 1971, the legendary Plumb company was sold to Ames. In 1981, Cooper Industries swallowed Plumb. In 1982, the Bridesburg Forge in Philadelphia, which had been pounding out hammers since 1869, closed its doors forever. The site became a supermarket. The main building was eventually converted into a Baptist church. 27 days later, on May 28th of 1982, the Kelly Works in Charleston, West Virginia, once the largest axe and hammer factory in the world, also went dark. 2 of the greatest names in American toolmaking died less than a month apart, and almost no one outside the industry noticed. Cooper rolled Plumb into a new entity called Apex Tool Group. In 2013, Bain Capital bought Apex for $1.6 billion. In late 2025, Bain effectively lost Apex to its lenders in a debt-for-equity restructuring. The brand name on your Plumb hammer today has been bought, sold, leveraged, and offshored multiple times in 5 decades. Fayette Rumsey Plumb would not recognize what is being sold under his family name. Then came the Craftsman betrayal. In 2017, Sears sold the Craftsman trademark to Stanley Black Decker for around $900 million in total deal value. The Stanley CEO, James Lorry, said the quiet part out loud in a public interview. He said Craftsman had de-evolved over time, migrated from made in America to virtually everything being made in China and Mexico, and was in sad shape. Stanley promised to revitalize Craftsman with a $90 million plant in Fort Worth, Texas. That plant reportedly closed roughly 4 years later. Today, the Craftsman hammer in your local Lowe's is most likely stamped with a country of origin that is not the United States. But poor ownership is only half of the story. The metal itself has been engineered to fail. The most fatal flaw in the modern import hammer is the substitution of investment cast steel for proper drop forged steel. To save tooling costs, factories overseas stopped using the heavy hardened dies that traditional forging requires. Instead, they pour molten steel into ceramic shells made from wax patterns, a process called investment casting. It is cheaper, it is faster, and it produces a head that looks correct from the outside. This works fine until the moment the steel is asked to do its job. A University of Toledo metallurgical study cited by Milwaukee Forge found that drop forged steel has roughly 26% more tensile strength and 37% more fatigue strength than equivalent cast steel. The decisive number is the reduction in area at failure. A forged hammerhead will deform 58% before fracturing. A cast head fails at 6%. That means a real forged head will mushroom and warn you before it breaks. A cast head can shatter without warning, and the fragments can fly toward your eye, your hand, or the head of the worker next to you. But the failure mode that triggered the 2023 recall was even more fundamental. The American National Standard for nail hammers requires that a hammer face be tempered to a Rockwell C hardness between 50 and 58 at the center, but deliberately softened to 41 through 48 at the rim, so the edge does not chip into shrapnel. This differential heat treatment is what Vaughan and Bushnell calls triple zone heating. It is the exact step that cheap import factories skip to save pennies per hammer. Skip the temper, and the as-quenched martensite is glass brittle. The face spalls, the eye cracks, the head separates from the handle. That is exactly the failure mode that detached 200 sledgehammer heads in American hands and forced the largest recall the striking tool industry has ever seen. You might think the Made in USA label on the package will protect you. It does not. The Federal Trade Commission's Made in USA labeling rule, 16 Code of Federal Regulations Part 323, only governs unqualified claims. The label assembled in USA has no minimum threshold of American content. A hammerhead can be press-formed in Shandong province, shipped to a warehouse in Tennessee, fitted with a fiberglass handle, and legally sold as assembled in USA. The Federal Trade Commission has been chasing this for 2 decades. In 2006, Stanley paid a $205,000 civil penalty for false made in USA claims on its 0-degree ratchets. The fine was a rounding error to a multi-billion-dollar conglomerate. The mislabeling continues to this day. The federal government has even maintained anti-dumping duties of 45.42% on Chinese forged hammers since 1991. Every regulator knows the cargo containers keep arriving anyway. So if the entire hardware aisle is rigged against you, does that mean you should give up on owning a tool that lasts a lifetime? No, it means you have to stop shopping like a consumer and start thinking like a metallurgist. There are exactly 5 companies left in America that still hammer forge a head from American steel under continuous independent or family ownership. The first is Estwing, founded in Rockford, Illinois in 1923 by a Swedish immigrant named Ernest Otto Estwing. He patented the world's first one-piece forged steel hammer in 1926. The head and the handle are forged from a single bar of American steel sourced from Nucor in Nebraska. There is no joint to fail. The Smithsonian added an Estwing to its industry collection in 2005. The family still controls the board, and the Rockford plant employs roughly 250 to 300 workers. The flagship 16-ounce curved claw model still retails for about $25. It will outlast the house you nail together with it. The second is Vaughan and Bushnell, founded in 1869 and headquartered in Bushnell, Illinois. They make the legendary 999 Rip Hammer and the California Framer, and they private-labeled Craftsman hammers for 100 years. In April 2024, after 155 years, the Bushnell plant was 60 days from shutting down. A family-owned competitor called Marshalltown Hammers stepped in to buy the assets, and on November 20th of that year, Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker added a $5 million state grant to make the rescue permanent. The mayor of Bushnell, Robin Wilt, said you would lie there at night and hear the hammers drop all night long. It was not a bothersome noise. It was a home noise. The third is Council Tool, founded in 1886 in Lake Waccamaw, North Carolina. 5 generations of the Council family still run it. Their Velvacut premium line is forged from 5160 alloy steel and heat-treated to a Rockwell C of 52 through 56. Their axes won the World Axe Throwing Championships in 2019 and 2020. President Cameron Council put it plainly. He said, "We are not corporate. This is it right here." The town of Lake Waccamaw has fewer than 1,500 residents, and Council Tool is the reason most of them have a paycheck. The fourth is Klein Tools, founded by a German immigrant named Matthias Klein in 1857. Klein operates 7 United States manufacturing facilities, including a dedicated drop forging plant in Moran, Kansas that has been running since 1975. The Klein family is in its 5th and 6th generations of ownership. Their professional electrician's hammer line, launched in 2022, is forged from American steel. There is one warning attached to Klein. In recent years, Tool Guide has documented Klein quietly switching certain SKUs at Lowe's to imported sources. The hammer line itself is still American forged, but check the head stamp before you walk to the register. The fifth is Channel Lock, founded in 1886 in Meadville, Pennsylvania, by a blacksmith named George B. Dearment. 5 generations of the Dearment family still run it. The Meadville Forge is the largest employer in Crawford County, with roughly 350 workers. Executive Vice President John Dearment said, "We remain committed to making our pliers here in Meadville and firmly believe Made in USA stands for quality, tradition, and reliability." Channel Lock is best known for tongue and groove pliers, but their forge has been producing striking and gripping tools side by side since 1911. There is one more name worth knowing, even though he does not run a forge. His name is Mark Martinez. In 1998, he revived a dormant trademark called Stiletto and built the world's first solid titanium framing hammer in Atwater, California. In 2007, he sold Stiletto to TTI, the parent of Milwaukee Tool. He fulfilled a 5-year contractual obligation, walked away, and planted 40,000 almond trees on a ranch in Central California. Then, on February 22, 2015, he picked up a brand new post-acquisition Stiletto in a tool store, weighed it in his hand, and said, quote, "I can make a much better hammer than this piece of crap," unquote. He started over in Merced, California. The Martinez M1 hammer retails for around $329, and there is a perpetual back order. If $300 is more than you want to spend, there's a second strategy. Buy vintage. The flea market hammer aisle is full of pre-acquisition American steel that will outwork anything sold at Home Depot today. Look for a Plumb with the embossed anchor mark, made before 1971. Look for a true Temper Kelly stamped Charleston, West Virginia, made before 1982. Look for a Stanley Sweetheart with the heart-shaped logo, made before 1935. These hammers cost between $15 and $100 on auction sites. They were forged when men still measured success in decades of service, not quarterly earnings reports. The era of widespread quality in American hardware is mostly over, and the conglomerates are banking on you not noticing. They are counting on you to be distracted by the rubber overmold grips and the magnetic nail starters, so you do not notice that the steel underneath was poured in a wax mold half a world away. But if you know the 5 names, and if you know to check the head stamp for a city like Rockford, Bushnell, Lake Waccamaw, Moran, or Meadville, you can still buy a tool that will outlive you. Do not let Stanley Black Decker, Apex Tool Group, and the offshore foundries take your job site safety for a hammer that is engineered to fail. Check the forge, check the family, and never underestimate the value of a head that was hammered by an American drop press. If you found this fascinating, hit subscribe for more stories like this.